Hello, and welcome back to the series of what to look for in a tutor. As someone with over 12 years of professional tutoring experience, I've compiled a list of what I believe to be the most critical attributes to look for in a tutor. And today I'm going to talk about adaptability. So this means a tutor should understand key aspects of how a student learns and adjust to them. I have to recognise certain traits and use these keys to adapt my style to each individual. And this really is the advantage of having a private tutor, is that the student is getting tailored and personalised support. So first up, the tutor has to understand what is motivating a student. Do they love the subject but really struggle? Or do they just require a grade? So we really need to find a middle ground here. If someone is struggling but loves their subject, they may end up pushing themselves too hard and cause frustration and stress. However, too little engagement can cause the student to become bored and not learn. So to build motivation, I tell stories around the subject about the history of certain discoveries, or I show photos or videos related to the subject and that give perspective. To reduce the pressure on students who may be pushing themselves too hard, I use regular reminders that they're on track and that they're prepared to reach the goals that they're aiming for. So another important aspect to consider is the student's communication style. Are they confident and can lead a lesson, or are they quieter and prefer to be directed? Communicating with a tutor is quite a different skill from learning at school. I used to be quite shy at school and could relate to students who struggle to take lead in tutoring. However, I think that the major benefit of tutoring is that the student can guide the lesson and learn exactly what they need. So as a tutor, I try to encourage participation from the students. And with quiet students, it can definitely take time and patience to build that level of trust. So my final key trait to look at is the learning style. You might have heard of the visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic learning styles, but those have been debunked actually. And there's a group of psychologists led by Pashler and McDaniel who did a pretty comprehensive review of the literature on learning styles. I recommend reading this article in full if you're interested. And they found that the literature only revealed a few fragmentary and unconvincing pieces of evidence that met a certain standard. And we therefore conclude that the literature fails to provide adequate support for applying learning style assessments in school settings. So when I talk about learning styles, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about whether students like to learn from stories and anecdotes, or whether they prefer to stick to the syllabus and like learning from a book. Telling stories around the subject can be really challenging for inexperienced tutors. They may not know much about the history or context surrounding their subject, and as a result, many tutors prefer to stick to the syllabus. However, I really feel that this isn't good for long-term engagement, and it offers little more than just looking at a revision book or watching YouTube videos. So both methods have their place. I like to use stories to build enthusiasm, and then we work together to apply what's been learned to answer questions and apply them to situations. And then we use the syllabus to fill in the gaps of knowledge. And then we start again building enthusiasm in the next topic and continue round our cycle. From my experience in teaching, I find it useful to question what a student may think of as their learning style. If someone's struggling to learn a topic, it may be a good time to push them to see things through a different lens. I hope you find this series useful when it comes to picking a tutor. If you look for something specific in a tutor, please leave it in the comments down below and I can add it to the list. I've recently started a project where I look to support people with ADHD and autism in education. If you're interested in this, please follow the website linked below.